Good evening. So basically, I'm going to introduce myself a little bit. My name is Amy Raygada. I'm basically a data product owner in Swiss Marketplace. I'm originally from Costa Rica, but I'm living in Germany for the last 5 years. I've been working in IT for more than 13 years in software engineering, and then I moved around 9 years ago more into the data topics. I have a degree in information technology for business development and a master degree in digital transformation. Currently, I'm trying to change the mentality and bridging the gap between technical people and business by being a translator between both groups, so we can achieve together a better utilization of the data we have at the company and to make better business decisions with the right information. So today I'm going to speak to you about how to kick off data mesh, but in a mentality change way, not only the technical side. So first, I would like to ask you to scan the following code from Slido, because I would like to ask some questions to you guys. So once that you join, the first question I would like to start this presentation is, are you familiar with the concept of data mesh? Oh, sorry, I got the wrong question here. One moment. For some reason, I got the wrong one. I'm sorry for the technical problem here. 1 second, please. Just stop sharing one more time and reset the presentation, sorry. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Should be good to go now, I think.
Now it's like again cut off at the edges, so it's.
Huh. Sorry, I don't know what happened here. Let me try one more time. What about now?
Still cut off.
Huh.
Not sure what happened before. It was fine.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Just 1 second. Let me just start here. And then are you now in the presentation? Can you see it?
Yeah, you see the Slido.
Okay, perfect. So that's the first question is, are you familiar with the concept of data mesh? Yes, somewhat, or not really. So I would like to see how is the audience today? Okay. Thank you very much. So it's actually not surprising to see this somewhat result. And also, I would like to ask you one more question. How long do you think it could take for an organization to fully embrace digital transformation and data-centric mindset? Cool. I see here a very mixed. Actually, 3 years is the minimum amount of time that you can actually expect to happen a transformation, a digital transformation in a company or in an organization. 5 years also is very possible, depending on how large it is. 1 year is slightly difficult. And actually, I had before people that said that might take 6 months. And well, that's very questionable based on the amount of transformations that you have to do. So basically, I would like to start with the concept of what is data mesh. So what does that mean in simple words? I think it really depends on your organization, your setup, the ways of working. For example, in my organization, the goal to implement was to enable data democratization. But what do I mean about data democratization? It helps us basically to make data-driven decisions by creating systems and adopting tools that will allow anyone in the company, regardless their technical background, to access and use and talk about data in an easy way. But how do we achieve this? By creating a self-serve data platform that will enable the creation of data products, meaning curated data sets that are ready to use by anyone with high data quality, high data security, high compliance, which will cascade as an improvement in the scalability and autonomy of a cross-functional data teams called domains. So basically it will be, could be a backend engineer, a data product owner, a data engineer, a BI developer, and a data analyst, for example. And these domains will create data assets, such reports and dashboards that can be easily accessed by stakeholders, saving time and complexity versus the classic approach of having a centralized team that do everything for everyone. So let me give you an example so it becomes more clear. The problem. Well, basically, at the moment we started to think in data mesh in our organization, we were going through different challenges. We were through a merger. So basically, we had many different type of data infrastructure, a lot of different type of data, a lot of type of different e-commerce websites. Basically, Swiss marketplace is kind of, well, ImmoScout and AutoScout in Germany, plus some other marketplaces, let's say like even Kleinanzeigen, or among others that we have. So basically the company merged all these competitors in one company, and we had to absorb all the data from all of them and kind of create a unified data system, you know, with one team at that moment. What we had all the data on premises. We had bad data quality. Basically, there was one person with all the knowledge, and it was not being distributed across other data team members. Stakeholders rarely collaborate with the data teams, but they were expecting us to read their mind and what they want. And then we had also a huge backlog growing every day on different dashboard, pipelines, report, metrics, and it was only growing. We were not able to address all these based on the lack of focus, resources, and technicalities that we had. So this causes a lot of production issues. We had a lot of unhappy stakeholders. And of course, who to blame? As usual, the data teams. So we started in the phase to identify and reflect. So the problems we found was lack of resources, lack of knowledge in the underlying logic and data, no data governance or data privacy applied at all, messy project structures, access and roles didn't really exist there. And of course, there was no data ownership or accountability for what we were doing. Why we decided to go with data mesh? Because we had this huge monolith in the on-premises system. So we wanted to have more distributed and decentralized data architecture. We also wanted to have data ownership to enforce a better communication in between the stakeholders and the engineering teams. We wanted to have data in motion because we didn't have a streaming data at the moment. So we wanted to be more event-driven and to have a streaming-centric pipelines. We wanted to have self-service tooling for technical and non-technical users. For example, we enable Looker and Data Studio for the non-technical people to be able to create dashboards, or we will have in our data platform all the different services from Google Cloud for them to create their own pipelines in the way that works the best, also in the best storage that works for each of the business units. Then we also wanted to have data governance, which is one of the pillars, of course, to foster the best practices and all the standards, to have a very standard way to treat the data across the different business units. And of course, we wanted the data product thinking, this shift in the mentality from data consumers and data producers, and start really communicating in between. So we had the proposal to create this data platform and have this data enablement team where we will be creating all these data platform where we will be ingesting all the data sources, meaning CRM, files, Excels, you name it, APIs, anything that you would like, do all the ingestion directly into the cloud, having a landing zone there, and then create data products that will become data assets. The first steps we need to take was basically to migrate all this on-prem data to GCP. We wanted also to enable data sharing across all the business units using Apache Iceberg. We wanted to create different domains in every business unit with dedicated domain teams that will own this ownership. We needed to implement also data contracts to enforce the communication about data producers and data consumers and to avoid chaos. For example, there was a time where we were basically in a high peak or high season for the sales teams. They are consuming for one of the dashboards, and the backend team just dropped a few columns from the transactional database. And of course, they didn't communicate anything. And then all the information they needed for the sales dashboard was basically, gone. And we wanted to really avoid this to happen all over again because it took weeks based on the lack of people we had. Also, the troubleshooting took longer because we didn't know what was the cause of it. And we wanted to avoid that by implementing the data contracts in our organization. We also understood we needed this data platform enablement team that will provide infrastructure so the teams didn't need to worry about the infrastructure per se, that implement all the best practices and data governance, cloud governance, access control, and data privacy. And basically the expectations of this were to create a collaborative team that will be kind of the center of excellence of the company and that will be followed with the best standards for everyone, to improve the data quality that we had, because at that moment, for example, we had metrics, for example, revenue, that were not matching on whatever the finance teams will say versus what we'll have in the data team versus what they will calculate from the backend somewhere else. And also we wanted to implement a modern data stack in the company to educate people to use this data platform. It sounded like a good plan at the moment. We had pretty much everything covered in a prototype, and we started to dream big. So basically, as you know, it might sound a little bit cheesy, but the journey is more important than the destination, but there is a lot more in between. And we started to think, how can we make this happen, or how can we fix it? Well, in April, May last year, we started to brainstorm in finding the right use case. We just really needed one that let us show the people how together we can improve the current state. And this brainstorming took around 3 or 4 months until we really came with the right use case. But we needed to finish first the cloud migration. Otherwise, we will be building on top of something that will be gone in the next months with bad data quality. But the lack of resources had us hand tight. So it was kind of a, what do we do and how do we make it work? We also got the data catalog, and we didn't have anything to put there yet. So we kind of moved forward with the infrastructure and things that might not, make sense at the very beginning, but we thought if we will have all the infrastructure, people will come to us and it will be easier. So we hire an architect and we started to move forward. So we created our self-service data platform and federated governance landing zone approach. So basically, we onboarded the identities, ensure the hierarchy of the data platform, work with the network design, and did all the security for the data platform. And basically, when we had all this ready, I started to develop in parallel all the processes, like the data product user journey. We wanted to do this time the things right. And so I created a data product proposition canvas. So before having a data product, the idea was to have like an interview with the stakeholders to understand why they needed this product and what will be the usage they will do it, how often they will need it, and also refresh rate, SLAs, SLOs, and other metrics. I also work on the data product canvas that will basically work on the design and how it will work. And then on the data product lifecycle that will show how this data product will move between business stakeholders, data product management, engineers, then maybe backend engineers, and goes back again until it's a finished work or maintenance time. So we were very confident at that moment. We thought people with passion can change the world. And well, I will tell you a little bit more about it. But first, I would like to make another question to you. In a single word, how would you characterize your own experience with the data mesh journey? Just one single word. If you are on this journey, how would you say it's your experience? Thank you so much for participating. Yeah, chaotic. And I totally agree with you guys. So let's go into the nitty gritty, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So this is what is about this presentation today. I want to tell you how was our journey. The challenges during the first use case implementation were quite a lot. I will say that it was easier than the following ones, but basically we have to learn and adapt. Basically, the project managers who were not data product managers that were joining these domain teams, they didn't want to collaborate. They didn't want to learn how to do data-driven decisions. They didn't want to take ownership of the data sets. They say, hey, no, thanks, but I'm too busy doing backend as well, so I don't want to take that hat. Thanks a lot for that. And you try to convince them that this data will make even easier for them to work in product, for example, and show them how they can leverage better products that will satisfy the customers to get more leads. They didn't really want to collaborate. Then data sharing, since we have a lot of business units, as I explained, they were asking questions such, why shall we share my business unit data with others in the company? I don't want to share my data. This is not the way we work, and a lot of negative statements out of it. For the data platform, we were, okay, here, look, this is this shiny and nice data platform that we have for you. You just need to choose whatever you want. Our team has the budget, you just have to use it. But they were reluctant to that. They were saying things such, well, our infrastructure is better. Some of them, for example, are in a Snowflake, AWS, and they didn't want to change, even though the way they had it set up was not the best. They believe they don't need anyone to manage it anyway. We can manage it in our own, but actually they don't have the resources to do it. And we just really want to help them. Also in the data governance, Why do we need to follow your best practices? Why do we need to follow the standards? We work independently. So we created a data governance council, including the data directors of these business units. And they also were reluctant to actually, fight, to adopt or use this stuff. For data products, I offer many trainings and workshops that were refused by many people several times. I even was there once ready to give a workshop, and one day before they declined, just because this mentality change is something that we knew it will happen, but not to that extent. So what can we do to sell the idea? Basically, to understand their concerns. To understand their concerns. And what do I mean by that? Basically, is baby steps that will help the stakeholders to be happy. They will sell the idea for you afterwards. So I have a good example of it for you today. We had people from monetization team that were having many issues with data quality, and we were migrating to the cloud their metrics. And they didn't want to actually collaborate at the beginning. We were asking them, can you give us how is the calculation done? What is the test cases we need to have, deviations, what kind of different intervals we need to take in consideration so we can put these as data quality tests for you. Can you help us to give us this information? And they were, no, we don't want it. We don't need it. It was a little bit of a fight. It was an escalation involved, but at the end, they started to provide this information, and all their numbers started to match in all the systems. And they were so happy that I remember I was in a conference last year, and one of the monetization team person from another business unit came to me and told me, hey, I want what they have. They told me that they are happy and they are having good data quality. How do you do that? So basically, if you understand what are the concerns, try to apply it for their own benefit and show them how it improves, they will do the good talk for you. Measure and communicate progress. Measure the success of the use cases proposed by the stakeholders to show value is super important. So as I mentioned here, if you show them, look, right now you have this amount of metrics that match in all the systems, or the amount of bugs or that you are opening, or problems that you're having is much less in percentage from the last quarter or the last year. Then address cultural concerns. You have to show the benefit that other stakeholders are enjoying. So actually, as I said, they will speak for you, but you also will have another presentations around the company. You can bring these as a testimonial, and these people will go and ask them, and then you get more people wanting to join you. Lead by the example. In our data, in the data that we implemented all these processes, when we show them how to do the right thing, we are not pushing them anymore to do this. Actually, we implement this in our department, because since we are a data platform, we also take care of the central functions of our company. So for example, HR. And now HR is super happy because they have data owners, they have data quality, they have our data catalog, they can access the data really easily. And people seeing the way we do it and how we actually pave the road for them, make it much easier for them to ask us, hey, I also would like to join the data catalog and start surfacing the metadata on top of it, for example. Education and training. I dedicated as well a lot of time doing event stormings with the people that wanted to implement a domain, so they understand how it works. I will elaborate a little bit more in the next slides. I also created gamifications with small prizes and a ranking that we are going to start implementing for the data catalog, so the people get more competitive and happy about adopting data catalog stuff, and get the executive buy-in. We started bottom up. It's hard, but that's how we got actually to get the executive buy-in. And now we illustrate them the progress to the executives with examples that closely align to the company goals. For example, we are now showing them based on the architecture we have, on the scans we do, on the data governance we have in place, that we are saving money for them because there are no orphan data sets anymore that are storage, that is money, and is a type of pipelines running for nothing because there might be no one really consuming from there. And now we are working on a big framework to get ownership on each of the data sets, so we can even save more money for them. So that's how we actually push this initiative, by showing them that we can save money out of this. So to convert somebody, go and take them by the hand and guide them. This is what I explained you before with the example I gave you. It takes time. Most of them will reject you at the beginning, but if you made to get one of these person and show them the value, they will come with you. This is what I started to do basically with all the teams that wanted to have a domain created. So basically, we tried to understand with the data product managers and the data engineers, and if it was a consumer aligned or a stream aligned domain, how the events will affect as a data producer. How would you get this data to be consumed by who, or what kind of data product will be producing, and how these data sources will exchange some kind of data to create a data product. So basically, we have, I don't know, let's say APIs generating data because we have one team working heavily with more microservice architecture. So for example, data source 1 and 2 are more related to that. Data 3 could be a spreadsheet, and let's say data source 4 is going to be a CRM. And then based on that, you can create a dashboard, an API, or a curated data set, and you will need data from all of them, for example, to create something related to sales. So we started to do this kind of workshop to be able to discover how domains will create it, and how they can relate between each others, and how we can put a data contract on top of it. So everybody is aware when something happens on the back end, how will impact the data product per se, and everybody will be happy with the amount of quality and the changes being announced with time. So we started versioning also of the data products when things change. Then I changed the data product value proposition, and I did something more data product management related that is more easy to fill out at the data product canvas. Named the data product value proposition. So basically, as I mentioned before, it will have an initial description. What is the problem? What is the expectation of the product? And honestly, you see, there is a lot of questions here. And for them to really fill out these, they really need to think what they want on a data product. Because we have the case that we will build a complex dashboard that will be used only once, or only by one person every 6 months or 1 year. So we wanted to make sure when we create a data product is because it's going to be used in the right way. Otherwise, it can be merged with another one or put it as an extra metric somewhere else. Also, we created the metrics library, basically to understand from the business perspective what they want, how they want to see it, what kind of description. Also to understand the test cases that I mentioned before from the business side, we can implement, because yes, we can do a lot of implementation of simple test cases in the cloud, monitoring schema, basic stuff. But if we want to do real anomaly detection, we need the collaboration from business. And with these kind of templates, we are able to gather all this information on this template in Notion, and have it there documented. At the end of the day, this is going to be translated in the data catalog, and it's going to be surfaced there. But we need to do the exercise first in this way for them to understand the need to have this. And how we reinforce this new behavior. We have a checklist. So we have to understand, for example, it was sometimes assigned to the business data owner, sometimes to the technical data owner to fill out certain stuff. And at the end of filling out all these checklists that you can see there, someone else will need to approve this. So it will be like, let's say, I fill this up, and then Christian will have to sign for me that I did everything correctly. So if something is wrong, they will come to Christian. Hey, but do you look at this list here? And they will be, well, yeah, actually yes, but then if there is something wrong, then you will be blamed in a way. So we wanted to expose that the people is really following the stuff, and they will take accountability and responsibility out of this. And this is how we started also with the ownership of the data. When I see actually our journey, when it started, what it could be year and a half ago, no, even more, almost 1 year and 8 months, it was very different. We went through a lot. We had to migrate to the cloud. We had to convince people. We have to do a lot of changes. We don't even call it data mesh anymore because people get a little bit scared with the name. So we just call like data owners or data governance, but everything in the cloud, all the infrastructure is pretty much data mesh, but they need to hear something different, something that wouldn't scare them, because it will be more about a buzzword. And if they hear some concepts or some things that are more familiar, it's much easier for them to adopt it. Then I would like to do a reality check. Actually, being honest with you guys, there is a slow adoption, very, very, very slow. After almost 2 years, we have less than 30% of the people on board. And also, to navigate the challenges, the road is really rocky. Don't believe everything you read in Medium. Don't believe everything you read in the books, because each company, each journey is super different. You have to expect strong resistance to change, and cultural change is hard and it takes a lot of time. Keep persevering. Digital transformation may take more than 3 years. That's why I asked you the questions at the very beginning. But don't get discouraged. Just stay resilient, keep going, continue to educate and preach. Basically, it's like converting people to a different religion. For every 10 closed doors, a new opportunity will open that you can get in, and open 20, let's say. You have to measure the adoption and track the progress. For me, metrics are super crucial for gauging this adoption and showing to the executive level what you can do. So for example, you can use measures such new users of the data platform, the amount of data owners per asset, data product usage, among others. Then you need to seek leadership support for high management, backing for them to facilitate the process by backing you up. This will give you security that people will follow the practices at some point, but it will take quite a lot of time. I can tell you, as you mentioned on this world map, is challenging, is messy, is bulky, it's complicated, but it's worth it. The benefits that you have when you implement a good data governance, data quality, self-service platform, it's huge. When people really use it, you will see a lot of change, the savings, the turnaround time of doing stuff. It's massive, the change. But the problem is to go past through these years where you really have to preach and to really push until you get the people on board with you. Well, this is pretty much all from my side. So if you would like to connect on LinkedIn, here is this QR code, so you can follow me. I'm doing roundtables every month with some people from the data mesh community about different topics like data contracts, federated governance. Today we had about cultural change as well. It's more an open roundtable concept. So if you're interested, you can follow me, and then I will share with you the events when we do it. And I would like to open also here. If you have questions, please feel free to add it here, and I will be more than happy to reply to your questions here. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Thanks a lot for your presentation. We still have time for a few more questions. So if anyone has questions, feel free to ask. And now we have Amy here. No questions, really.
Well, I'd rather would not. I would take a word just to say thank you, Amy, for sharing this, because it's very close to what I experience in my company. I'm a lead architect in a large company, and basically what we build is data mesh as a service. So basically we create in data mesh platforms and distribute them across our let's say internal organizations, which every unit is a separate organization, let's say like that. And well, yeah, in some we have some success stories, but mostly it's like after 3 years we see like, yeah, we onboarded on this journey 3 years ago, and looking back we see that indeed we didn't achieve even a half of what we have expected back then to have achieved in 3 years. So yeah, and all the points that you have said, they are relevant. So I can just double confirm that indeed these are the pain points. But those success stories that we saw, actually those teams that wanted to have more product data ownership on their side, even without perfect self-service, they were able to achieve great results and increase time to market. But those, let's say, organizations that were not ready for that, they're still there, and they would prefer to wait, months for data teams to develop something for them instead of taking, their destiny in their hands and use the platform and achieve, indeed, make a step towards data-drivenness. Thank you, Amy, for sharing this.
Thank you so much for your input. And that's the thing, right? When we read in Medium, when we see presentations sometimes in conferences, you see just like, oh yeah, it's rainbows and unicorns and everybody's so happy, but it's not the reality. I mean, when I was investigating before we started the implementation, I'm like, oh, is this that easy? Because for me, it's so painful. But then you understand when you go with people, that is not presenting and they are talking with you face to face, they really tell you the real thing, so you don't feel that lonely anymore. So when I do my presentations, I try to bring the reality check here. It's not easy, it's painful, but it's worth it. Thank you. I see some questions here. Christian, may I reply to them here?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so what is a domain in your data mesh approach? Well, we have the 2 types of domain as, the theory. We have the consumer aligned and the stream aligned. The stream aligned, for example, we have the people with microservices. So we have a team where is 1 backend engineer, 1 data engineer, 1 data product manager, and then a BI developer. And this is basically bringing data directly from the API to GCP. And then in GCP, we created a curated data set. And then there are other consumers, which are other domains. For example, sales that will consume from this curated data set to generate another data set because they are just a domain creating from different, stream aligned domains, different data products that will be consumed by other teams. So that's how we call a domain team. So the consumer aligned is mostly data product manager, data engineer, BI developer, data analyst, could be a machine learning engineer, depending on the use case you're using for this domain. How to deal with the lack of a data catalog, wasn't properly built from a start and now it's a mess. Well, honestly, we got it since the very beginning and it's still a mess. The thing is, we are trying to put the best practices. I don't know which one you have, if you would like to elaborate on that, but we have Aplan. And we decided from our team to do everything by surfacing metadata out of the data sets. And we had to rebuild a lot of things because some teams started just to fill out stuff manually. And this is not sustainable over time. People leave and then our changes. And the day we want to leave the tool, this data catalog, we have to basically see how we export all this data. So we decided to do it via metadata. So the day we don't need them anymore and we would like to go, I don't know, to Colibra or somewhere else, we will have this metadata in DBT, and it will be basically pushed and surfaced on the data catalog of our choice. So my recommendation, if it's a mess, try to see how you can fix it in a more technical way. And yeah, then how do you get executive backing for getting a team for this journey? I'm lacking of support by the IT and the data colleagues. Look, actually, we started as a central data teams for the central functions of the company. And then we didn't have many projects because, you know, HR was not interested, and we were basically divided. So there is a data team for each of the business units. That's why it's very siloed and resistant. And then it was us. And then I was working with data mesh before in a company that I work a couple of years ago. I was not in charge of the implementation, but I brought the idea to the data director, and he said, okay, let's do it. But actually we started bottom up, and it was more painful because we have to show a real use case that will bring value for the people to really buy it. So as I said, we show with FinOps that we were able to save some money. And of course, the CFO, when he saw the savings, he was like, bling, bling money. And then he was, okay, no, now we need data owners. We need to work on this. We need to work on that. But we started bottom up, trying to convince people and trying to find a person in the team who would like to run on a small use case and show the value out of it. How do you deal with the smaller departments that can bring the time needed? What do you mean by that? Could you elaborate, maybe? The person who asked these questions, maybe in the call?
Yes, I can. There are departments where the owner doesn't have the time. You don't find the data stewards. You don't find sufficient time to execute the product ownership.
Okay, yeah, my recommendation here, if you don't have enough resources, if you have just one data team, is don't go for data mesh, because it's just for mid-sized, big organizations. For smaller companies, I recommend you to continue with this maybe centralized team, or to do the ownership of the metrics. Is something like what the example I gave with the monetization team. They are not technical people, but they wanted to have good data quality. So if you can present them an example where you can help them to get what they need, that's how you're going to get these people to really own it. And as I said, they will speak for you, giving good references, and then the people will come to you. Where is the business glossary maintained, and who owns the business terms? Basically, it's in Atlan. This data catalog, I don't know if you know it, is quite famous now. The business terms are owned by the business analyst usually. So there is a business person who will own certain metrics and terms. For some teams, because since we are different business units, they use the data team. The BI developers are the ones owning these business terms because they communicate directly with the business users. So we set up the standard that there should be a business owner for sure of a term, but the different teams are like open, you know, to choose who they would like to. But in the team that is more advanced with the data mesh, the business people actually is the one who owns that and who creates the test cases and who gets really in touch with the data, even though they are not technical people. How did you approach data modeling across the different layers and domain? We're using DBT. Actually, we're moving to Data Vault now. We started with just a normal Kimball approach, but now we are into Data Vault. I think the engineers finished with that already maybe 1 month ago or something. So we had to speak with the different BI developers, BI leads of the different business units. Some of them didn't want to join on this journey, but we had actually 3 people who is working right now with Data Vault and using DBT to do all the modeling and Another team is using Matillion, but basically we foster we try to preach with DBT all the time. Okay, so magical nouns will present you with a perfect data catalog in the morning. How will your business change? Basically, I don't think there is a perfect data catalog. Honestly, I mean, it really depends on your business and your needs. And I can tell you with Atlan is not perfect. We are very silo and we have different, business units. And for example, we cannot right now separate them. We have to do a lot of workarounds to make it work for us. But definitely it changes in the way you can assign owners and how people can access the data easily, and how for example, the Atlan now has this AI feature where you can, non-business people will say, hey, can you give me the metric of revenue from InmoScout? And it will query for you and it will give you the information there immediately. So even for non-technical people, it's useful, and that's why we stay with them. But technically speaking, there is a lack of a lot of features we need. And it changed a lot just because the fact that it's very user-friendly and business people feel more willing to use it. Still, adoption is low, honestly, but we are trying to keep, pushing for this. Yeah, we are in GCP with DBT for data modeling, and Looker and Data Studio for visualization in a nutshell. Some people is using PopSop to do some event-driven pipelines, and then we have a storage in BigQuery and Cloud SQL. Also, we have, for now, that's what we have from the GCP side. We are trying to connect with Apache Iceberg, what is in AWS and Snowflake with the other teams. That's why we're using it. But the idea will be at some point, I cannot tell you how many years, to push everybody to be on GCP. And this is going to be much better than try to just share data across all the platforms. And no, I don't have that data. No, actually, we introduced this. Sorry, did you introduce the open data contract standard published on GitHub? No, we did something a bit different. Our solution was very built up in-house. It was quite interesting. I told our data architect that I was reading a lot about data contracts and I wanted to do something like that. So we have Terraform to manage all the infrastructure side, and we are using GCP, as I said. And then what we do is everything is on GitHub. So we do an schema validation that is connected. So when the backend engineer creates a pull request and there is a change there, basically we are able to get a notification, and the data engineer and the data product manager of the domain needs to approve this change, because they need to check how this is going to impact the curated data set. And then if there is something that will change, we can create version 1, 2, or 3 of the data product, and then decommise the one that is no longer serving their purpose. And then we have another data contract between the curated data set and the consumers from the consumers aligned domain that will also inform them if something changes in the curated data set, so they can initiate these conversations before it is actually pushed to production. So nothing will break unless there is an approval for all of that. And okay, yeah, I think I explained the data contract. Yeah, there a bit. Yeah, so thank you so much for your questions. If you have anything else, let me know. And I think there's still a bit of time. I don't know, Christian.
I think there's one other question in the chat from Piotr, where he asks, is in your solution any automation to take care of the self-service back office? Any other automation for DevOps, DataOps?
Yeah, we have a lot of automations for DataOps right now, even for crawling data sets to understand who has owners, who doesn't have owners, which data sets are being used, and also to do the PII scanning, for example, to understand where we have privacy, where do we need to tag it as private, where do we need to mask, where do we need to do this every time if there is a new data set, it will scan, and we will know this kind of things there as well. It's part of the federated governance.
Okay, and then there's one other question where Gabriel Tanase basically asks, are you using any framework for data vault on DBT? Are you using Automate TV or anything like that? Do you know?
Honestly, I don't know how they did it. I haven't been involved on this project because I was focusing on the ownership side. So, but I know that they were using, I think, the DBT package for Data Vault.
Okay, I think that's it. Thanks again, Amy, for a great presentation and for thoughtful responses to the questions. Thanks everyone for participating in the surveys and asking questions. And see you all again next time with Alexei Makhotkin.
See you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy.